In this colour replacement tutorial, we're going to tackle a very challenging task indeed. You've got a very fine texture here, lots of lace, which we want to dye a different colour, but you've got semi-transparent material as well, which shows skin tone, and that's quite an attractive part of the image we don't want to change. So I'm going to show you how to combine a variety of different colour replacement tools, commands, and layer masks, and we'll tackle the challenge and end up with something that looks like this. So we have a nice green colour here that's changing our cream to green, but we're not changing the skin tone that's showing through the semi-transparent section. And the main challenge as well, of course, is that the colours we're trying to replace are very similar to other parts of the shot, so you will end up with paints all over the place, and I'll show you how to tidy up that mess very easily. Open the file Colour Replace Start, and then just drag the layers palette out onto the main workspace there. Click here to close the palette bin, and then we've got a much leaner looking interface there, and you can also drag the toolbar out from the side here if it's stuck at the side there. Undock that so that you can then move that around and access the tools more quickly. Next thing to do is to duplicate the main background layer so that we've got a copy by dragging it to the create new layer icon like that. And there's a few reasons to do that, and they'll become more apparent as we work through this tutorial. Now the challenge here is to select the dress and change the colour of the dress without changing the background colour, the girl's hair. There's a very similar range of colours in this shot, so if you try to use tools like the quick selection tool, you may find that it's selecting the girl's skin tones as well as the dress, and when it gets to these semi-transparent areas it's just selecting these as well. So we want these areas here to show the real skin colour when we change the colour of the dress, and that's going to be a bit difficult if we've selected them at the same time. So Control D to deselect that, and let's use a tool that's designed to help us replace colour, which you'll find in Enhance, Adjust Colour, Replace Colour. Now this is very similar to the Colour Range tool which you'll find in the Select menu of Photoshop CS, but it also adds some colour replacement options. If you're using CS, you would have to use this tool to make the selection and then use a hue saturation adjustment layer to get access to all of these tools. But in Elements, it's all combined in one handy-to-use interface. So this cool tool works in this way. Let's take this tool here, which is the Add to Sample option, and that allows us to click in several places and then just click to sample the dress. And basically the areas that are white are areas that are going to be changed, and areas that are black will be untouched. So let's just Control plus to zoom in to have a look at the girl in more detail, and let's click to add a little bit more to the selection. Now you can see that there's a lot of areas around the edge there that are being selected as well, bits of the hair and the eyes. Let's just reduce the fuzziness to try and get the dress looking white but everything else looking black. It's not going to be possible, of course. We're going to end up changing colours of things like this very similar part of the wall, but I'll show you how to fix that later. You can see that there's some areas that are black. That's the actual lace around the bottom of the dress here and the sleeves, and that's fine. We don't want to select that because we want to keep the original skin tone showing through, but that's pretty much looking like we've got most of the dress selected and the lacy details as well. So what I'll do is I'm going to start to change the hue by dragging like so, and you can see that the dress is changing. Pop up the saturation as well so we can see that in more detail, and we're going to go for a kind of apple green colour tint, something like that. It's quite subtle, quite nice. A little bit too fluorescent, but we can fix that later. But it's actually selecting a lot of the dress and the lacy details, but it's also revealing the finer skin showing through these very thin parts of the dress here. So this tool is very good at making the initial selection. It's done a fairly good job of selecting the lace, but not selecting the finer skin details showing through the very semi-transparent parts of the dress. So that's the very tricky bit that's been selected here. But it's missed bits as well, like parts of the shadowy section here. Now we could add to the selection, but that's also going to add similar pixels from the rest of the shot, maybe even start to tint the skin tones as well. So this is a good starting point. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. We can click OK and move on with fine-tuning our selection.